And good evening once again, and welcome to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And guess what? It's time for new comics, bitches! And this is for, I promised that I'd do this for somebody. America. Fuck yeah. Okay. Alright. No, I'm done with all that. Okay, seriously. Okay. Yes, so I have a fucking cast now. So yeah, this sucks. But you know, it's here and it's gonna be here for 4 fucking weeks. Yay! And this is, I mean, the break is right here. It's pretty small. And I've got this massive, huge cast. And yes, my wife has already written on this. Isn't that sweet? But no, we're going to talk about comics because there's a lot to talk about. Nothing bad this week. I mean, nothing even remotely bad. I think last week was a good week too, but this week, nothing bad. Everything was very, very good. Okay, not everything was very, very good, but most things were very, very good. And try and kind of not fly through it as I did the previous one, but you just kind of have to respect that this is going on right now, and this really does, it gets the blood up, as they say. But okay, so we're going to start off with, we're going to start off with this. We're going to start off with Thief of Thieves #1. Okay? So this is written by Robert Kirkman and Nick Spencer. So we got 2 of my favorite writers working in comic books right now. And so what are you expecting? You're expecting, and Sean Martinborough, however you pronounce that name, as the artist. So how would one really expect... Okay, so from 2 of the top names in comics teaming up to bring you a series, brand new series, one would expect, okay, well, there's going to be a lot of really bing, bang, boom stuff. You know, we're going to get to work right away. And interestingly enough, did I just fucking say that? Oh, man. Interestingly enough. Now, okay, the teaser on the cover of the book, you know, it says there is nothing he can't steal, nothing he can't have, except for the life he left behind. Now, here is where I guess the disappointment comes in. Not that this isn't good. It's pretty damn good. But here's the problem that I have with it. It's very short. It felt like a really, really brief read. It's kinda, sorta dense. It introduces you to some of the players here, and obviously it introduces you to the main, I think, 2 players, which are Redmond, which is the thief, the title thief, and Celia, his apprentice, partner, whatever you want to call her. It gives, you know, a little backstory about them and so on and so forth. But what is the life that he left behind? What is it? See, that's really the thing that got me interested. Well, I mean, just having those 2 names, honestly, on the cover is going to interest, I would say, any discerning comic lover. But the thing that had me interested about the story, about the actual comic itself, other than those 2 people, is that, well, this is, you know, what is this past? What did he leave behind? And we don't find out a thing about that in the first issue. And that was honestly a little annoying. It felt like, I mean, I get it. They're trying to kind of go full steam ahead on this book, and I respect that. I really do. But it felt like, okay, you're kind of glazing over. It just seemed to completely bypass the elephant in the room. And if it didn't have that on the cover, I would say, oh, this is, this is a really good book. It's solidly written, very well drawn. But ultimately, it was like, I don't really know what the hell to expect right now. Especially with the ending. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, well, this book seems very up in the air right now as to what the hell it's going to be about. And while I appreciate that on some levels, on other levels I don't. So I guess that's, and like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. It's a very solid 3.5 out of 5, leaning more towards 4. It's like I said, it's well executed, it's well done, but the promise of it isn't there yet. So again, I'm wondering if this is one of those things, going to be another Kirkman title that ends up being more workable in a trade rather than issue by issue. Because, I mean, Nick Spencer is not doing, Nick Spencer in his other work, he doesn't do that. And I'm wondering if he's kind of following the Kirkman lead here of, well, you know what, to be honest, Walking Dead, Invincible, all that stuff, it works better in trade than it does in individual issues. I don't necessarily believe that's so much about Invincible, but I definitely, absolutely believe it about Walking Dead. So, I gotta say, I was a bit disappointed in it, but that's only because it just kind of, it failed to produce on what it's saying that it will. So that to me was just a little bit like, I'm not really sure how this is all going to go down. But, like I said, there's a lot of time for this book to go through. I don't know if it's going to be a recurring, an actual recurring series. If it's only going to be a limited series, I have no idea. So I'm sure there are more learned people out there than myself that know this kind of shit. So again, 3.5 out of 5 for Thief of Thieves #1. So moving along. Okay, so we got Demon Knights #6. This is a really good issue. Again, Paul Cornell just really, livening things up here in his own kind of special way. Just a lot of interest. The cross section of heroes / anti-heroes that are in this book is really interesting. Exoristos and Algebur, and of course having Madame Xanadu and Etrigan, Jason Blood, Shining Knight, Vandal Savage. It's just these are really, really cool characters. Horsewoman. I just really enjoyed it. It was a really tight read, beautifully drawn. Diogenes Nevis is he's a particularly excellent artist. I'm liking the camaraderie. Things are starting to kind of come together. It's still they're still separated by different wants, different desires, different ideas of what they're doing there, but still it's very solidly put together. And it's a real it's a joy to read, so I appreciate that. And it makes it a really entertaining read. So that again, 4 out of 5 for Demon Knights, just really good stuff. So I mean, it's some of the comics, a lot of the comics that I read, they sort of enter into that kind of 4 out of 5 because I do tend to choose things based on a name. Obviously, Paul Cornell. I don't read Stormwatch, but he's a guy that I followed for a certain amount of time, reading things like Wisdom, of course, Captain Britain, MI13, which I thought was a brilliant and unfortunately far too short-lived series. But but I didn't really get into stuff on Action Comics. But anyway, I'm kind of getting away from the point. Point is that it's like a lot of my reviews, they end up getting they end up getting higher grades than they normally would, uh, because I'm not just reading everything. Although I do read a lot. I've got a lot of issues here, so let's keep going. So we got Batgirl, number 6. This is easily my favorite. God, I can't even speak. Uh, it's easily my favorite book of the run so far. Gail Simone has really gotten her groove on in this book. The narration is just tremendous. Um, but what really works in this particular book is the scenes with are the scenes between, or actually more of the scenes of from Barbara's point of view about her emotional attachment with Bruce Wayne. That, especially in the hospital scene that took place in The Killing Joke that is referenced here, in where she thinks that Bruce is going to come in and basically kind of tear her a new one because what are you doing trying to be this superhero? Didn't I train you better than that? You should have been prepared for this type of thing when the Joker shot her in the spine. But he doesn't. He just is there with her and does his best to comfort her. And in The Killing Joke, it plays a little bit differently than it does here. But it's nice that Simone is, God damn it, is really, she's living up to what has come before in this woman's life, and that yes, indeed, The Killing Joke does exist, for better or worse. Personally, I think it's much better. It's one of my favorite comics of all time. A lot of female readers out there tend to disagree. They think it's sexist. They think it's misogynistic, because it was Barbara that took the big bullet and not someone like Commissioner Gordon or anything like that. I don't see it, and maybe because I'm a man. I don't know. I'd like to think that it's not, but whatever. Anyway, it's a solid 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, it's a really emotionally engaging issue, and that's like I've said any number of times. Anytime that you can hit me on that, on the level of heart and on the level of emotion, rather than just kind of going through, a lot of action beats and a lot of character beats, which is fun and it's good, and that's it makes for good comic book reading. But when you can really get to me and make it work on a more emotional level, then that's when you got something special. So there's that. Okay, so Battle Scars, number 4, 6. This is almost a series that I wish would go longer than this, and I hope that the character of Marcus Johnson does appear more in the Marvel Universe, because this has been an extremely interesting series. Like I've said any number of times, I think every time that I've reviewed it, it's way better than it should be. Chris Yost just really doing some great work here. This whole fight between Marcus and the Serpent Society, and then this mysterious figure that comes in, and then this, the sequences between, with him and Deadpool, fortunately are somewhat brief, but, the sequences, the scene between him and Taskmaster is tremendous. And then ultimately you have the mystery character, which ultimately reveals the thing that has been teased and people have talked about for a long time, which is that the mystery character is indeed Nick Fury, and apparently Marcus is Nick Fury's son. And, like I said, we've talked about, that's something that has been talked about and teased, perhaps, as kind of a spoiler. But to see it actually come to fruition was still kind of a shock. So, just a really, really solid book. Like I said, 4 out of 5 for Battle Scars number 4. Just terrific, really good art, really good story arcing, good stuff. So, we're going to be back, and we'll talk some more comics. Okay? So, see you in a bit.